So we continue our study comparing Deuteronomy 7 and the seventh book, Judges. And we're going to start with Judges 17, chapter 17. Excuse me. And the theme of delivering and giving continues in Judges 17. And so verse 4, let me read it to you. I'm not going to read Deuteronomy, but because I read it before. So verse 4, yet he restored the money unto his mother, and his mother took 200 shekels of silver and gave them to the founder, who made thereof a graven image and a molten image, and they were in the house of Micah. And verse 10, and Micah said unto him, this is when he found a Levite passing by his house, and he said unto him, dwell with me, and be unto me a father and a priest, and I will give thee 10 shekels of silver by the year, and a suit of apparel, and thy victuals. So the Levite went in. So one thing that is added in the pattern between Deuteronomy 7 and Judges 17 is the graven images. The graven images. So verse 5, I'll read it to you. But thus shall ye deal with them. You shall destroy their altars, and break down their images, and cut down their groves, and burn their graven images with fire. And verse 25, the graven images of their gods shall ye burn with fire. Thou shalt not desire the silver or gold that is on them, nor take it unto thee, lest thou be snared therein, for it is an abomination unto the Lord thy God. And Judges 17, verses 3 and 4, and when he had restored the 1100 shekels of silver to his mother said, I had wholly dedicated the silver unto the Lord from my hand for my son to make a graven image and a molten image. Now therefore I will restore it unto thee. It seems like there's a confusion with Israel at some point, because she did say, I dedicated the silver unto the Lord from the hand of my son. And the Lord capitalized is referring to Yahweh. And strange, because God doesn't require any graven image to represent him, but she's doing it opposite to that. And which reminds me, actually, because it reminds me of Acts chapter 17. Notice this is Judges 17, and it reminds me of Acts 17, where Paul passes by Athens, and he sees a plaque or something dedicated to the unknown God. And Paul uses that advantage. I'll make it, saying to them, to the Athenians, I'll make it known unto you about the unknown God. And in John 17 as well, Jesus said in his prayers, the world has not known the Father, but I sent my disciples so that they would make them known. So Paul wasn't with Jesus and his disciples at the time, but he was chosen to be he was a chosen vessel, and he was sent to the Athenians. So in verse 4, yet he restored the money unto his mother, and his mother took 200 shekels of silver and gave them to the founder, who made thereof a graven image and a molten image, and they were in the house of Micah. And there's another relation, Micah, for example. There are several Micahs, but two Micahs were found on the 11th spoke. Yeah, Micah, which is Micah 33, the 33rd book, Micah, and 1 Kings 11. At the end of the book, I refer to the 11th book, 1 Kings chapter 22. There was a prophet by the name of Micaiah, which is the same, uh, name written in a different way, as well as Micah. And Micaiah was saying, if you to Ahab, if you return in peace, as he was being dragged away, God has not spoken to me, but because God said you're not going to return in peace, so you're going to die in the battle. And if you return in peace, God has not spoken unto me. And the last words he said, "Hear, O Israel." But we don't hear anything about Micaiah again. But Micah, for example, starts his prophecies by saying, "Hear, O Israel." And how is this related to Micah in Judges 17? It is related by the money, uh, sum, 1,100 shekels of silver. So it's related to the number 11. And even though Micah here is the 33rd book, it is on the 11th spoke, Kaf. The 11th, represented by the 11th letter, Kaf. And that's the end of this page. And we continue with Judges 18. So Deuteronomy 7 mentions burn their graven images with fire, and the same with 25, you shall burn with fire. And chapter 18 is the continuation of Micah having a graven image in his house, and the Levite as a priest, with giving him a salary, and the Danites come in, from the tribe of Dan, and they steal the graven image with the Levite who was a priest, and they give him a better offer, and they left. And here it is, verse 27. And they took the things which Micah had made, and the priests which he had, and came to Laish, unto a people that were at quiet and secure. And they smote them with the edge of the sword, and burned the city with fire. If I'm not mistaken, Laish was close to Jerusalem. It was one of the cities that was close to Jerusalem, but I haven't looked into that, and I'm wondering, what does Dan have to do with that area, geographical area, because the Danites have settled in the north. But anyways, we'll go on to the next one. Once again, the delivering into thine hand is mentioned in Judges 18. So verse 10, when you go, you shall come unto a people secure to a large land, for God hath given it into your hands, a place where there is no want of anything that is in the earth. So the theme of graven images continues in chapter 18. So let me read it to you. Verse 14. Then answered the 5 men that went to spy out the country of Laish, and said unto their brethren, Do ye know that there is in these houses an ephod and teraphim, and a graven image and a molten image? Now therefore consider what ye have to do. Verse 17. And the 5 men that went to spy out the land went up and came in thither, and took the graven image and the ephod and the teraphim and the molten image. And the priest stood in the entering of the gate with 600 men that were appointed with weapons of war. And these went into Micah's house and fetched the carved image, the ephod, the teraphim, and the molten image. Then said the priest unto them, What do ye? What are you doing? In other words, verse 20, and the priest's heart was glad, and he took the ephod and the teraphim and the graven image, and went in the midst of the people. In other words, they made him an offer in verse 19, but I haven't posted the verse. And the priest took the offer. And verse 30, and the children of Dan set up the graven image, and Jonathan, the son of Gershom, the son of Manasseh, he and his sons were priests to the tribe of Dan until the day of the captivity of the land. I'm not sure at this point if Gershom was the Levite, was from the tribe of Levi, or Gershom belongs to is another person belonging to the tribe of Manasseh. I'm pretty sure that Gershom is referring to the tribe of Levi, because it did mention that he was a Levite. In any case, so verse 31, they set them up Micah's graven image, which he made all the time that the house of God was in Shiloh. So let me give you a resume. Since Joshua was crossing the Jordan River, at first they had set up the camp. I believe they set up the camp in Gilgal, but then they settled around chapter 18, I believe. They set it up in Shiloh, and up until Eli, the high priest, the tabernacle with the Ark of the Covenant were set up in Shiloh. But they were taken. The Ark of the Covenant was taken by the Philistines. They went to 5 cities of the Philistines, and then it came back to Kiryat Jearim, I believe, which the name Kiryat Jearim means a city of woods, a woody place, maybe a forest. Once again, Judges 18 repeats a word that is often mentioned in the book of Judges. Judges, judgment, manner, and in Judges 18 verse 7 it says, Then the 5 men departed and came to Laish, and saw the people that were therein, how they dwelt careless after the manner of Zidonians. So yeah, probably Laish was a city and near the Lebanon border, quiet and secure, and there was no magistrate in the land that might put them to shame in anything, and they were far from the Zidonians and had no business with any man. And the theme of giving daughters or making marriages, giving sons to or daughters to marriages, is continues in the book of Judges. It takes a different form at this time. Yeah, as you notice, there was a story, another story that happened. Um, Someone's concubine, someone's daughter, or I believe someone's daughter was a concubine to someone else, and she played the whore, and she fled back to her father's house, and the man wanted to forgive her and went after her, and that's the story. Let me read verse 4 and what happened after that. The children of Benjamin were were Sodomites, and they knocked the door, and they wanted to know the man, and the father gave them his concubine and his daughter, uh, and they violated her unto death. Um, so this it shows the state of Benjamin was awful, and there was a civil war eventually in Judges 20 and 21. So let me read these to you. Verse 4: And his father-in-law, the damsel's father, retained him, and he abode with him 3 days. So they did eat and drink and lodged there. Verse 7: And when the man rose up to depart, his father-in-law urged him, therefore he lodged there again. Verse 9: And when the man rose up to depart, he and his concubine and his servant, his father-in-law, the damsel's father, said unto him, Behold, now the day draweth toward evening. I pray you, tarry all night. Behold, the day groweth to an end. Lodge here, that thine heart may be merry. And tomorrow get you early on your way, that thou mayest go home. But in verse 24, it says, Behold, here is my daughter, a maiden, and his concubine. Them will I bring out, and humble ye them, and do with them what seemeth good unto you, but to this man do not so vile a thing. He's talking to the man of the house, is talking to the Benjamites. Once again, and this is in chapter 20, deliver, give into their hands. Um, so, uh, Judges 20, verse 13, Now therefore deliver us the men, the children of Belial, which are in Gibeah, that we may put them to death, and put away evil from Israel. But the children of Benjamin would not hearken to the voice of their brethren, the children of Israel. I mean, this was according to the law that they required whoever sins, they would require whether it be the family members, or the tribesmen, or people the to deliver whoever's guilty to the authorities, and they would put them on trial and execute them. But in this case, the tribe of Benjamin wouldn't hearken, wouldn't listen. So because of that, they had to begin a civil war. And verse 28, and Phinehas the son of Eleazar the son of Aaron stood before it in those days, saying, shall I yet retain uh, shall I yet again go out to battle against the children of Benjamin my brother, or shall I cease? And the Lord said, go up, for tomorrow I will deliver them into thine hand. So at this point, there were multiple attempts to for war, and they might have won some, they might have lost some, but at this point, they're asking the counsel of God. Israel is asking the counsel of God, and to the point that they're even fasting. It didn't mention fasting. Um, and God is now working through prophets at this time, but He was giving answers through the priest, or the high priest at the time, which was Phinehas, and I believe it was by the use of the Ehud. And if I'm not mistaken, when the Ehud is used, the answer would be yes or no. I don't know how that works, but maybe a certain light would light on. Anyways, um, verse 36. So the children of Benjamin saw that they were smitten. For the men of Israel gave place to the Benjamites, because they trusted unto the liers in wait, which they had set beside Gibeah. There's another mentioning of the land of Canaan in Deuteronomy 7. It mentions the Canaanites as one of the 7 nations uh, to possess, to fight against. But at this point, Israel is also known as the land of Canaan. So, verse 12, 21, this is Judges 21, verse 12. And they found among the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead 400 young virgins that had known no man by lying with any male. And they brought them unto the camp to Shiloh, which is in the land of Canaan. So at this point, they pretty much destroyed the tribe of Benjamin. At this point, there was hardly anyone left. They were almost extinct, and Israel, the tribe of Israel, the nation of Israel, felt sorry that a tribe would be extinct. A name would be among the tribes would be blotted out, because there was nothing left, and it seems like it is possible that there's no women left, or hardly any women left from the tribe of Benjamin. But they gave at one point they made a vow not to give any daughters from among them, but there was one group of people, the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead, that didn't come to them in with the that didn't join them in battle, that didn't accompany them to fight the Benjamites. So they took they pretty much kidnapped the they pretty much kidnapped the women of Jabesh Gilead and brought them to so that the Benjamites would take them as wives. And as you notice that there, almost every chapter, or maybe half the book at least, had to do with taking women, giving or taking women, daughters as wives, and each theme has something unique, something different. Whether it be taking a stranger for wife, or uh, whether it be um, having a concubine for wife, or uh, having a harlot. I mean, the son of the harlot was Jephthah. The son of a concubine was Abimelech, who was worse than Jephthah actually, but he was a son of a concubine, a maiden. And uh, and when you look at the last chapters of Judges, the Benjamites were diminished, but there is after Judges comes the small book of Ruth, 4 chapters long, and the subject changes. It has a different theme. It has a different story. But when you start reading First Samuel, it mentions the tribe of Benjamin once again, and this time Saul was chosen to be king from the Benjamites. Imagine if the tribe was extinct, there wouldn't be any Saul. And at the time, his heart was with God. In the beginning, his heart was with God, but after that, his heart went after his surrounding. He always took what other people said to heart. That's the thing. He always, but it's but the important thing was what his fall was. He might you might he might take things to heart, but then should have sought God's counseling. But instead, he became jealous. Instead, he became aggressive. He went more aggressive and went more against God. I mean, when the women, the daughters, were praising David more than him, he became jealous. And he sought ways to ensnare him and give him a hard time. But if he had sought God in the first place, these things wouldn't matter to him. God would have protected him. God would have prospered him. Once again, the theme of the giving or delivering comes into play, but it doesn't say deliver it into your hands. Um, but let me read to you Judges 21. This is the last chapter of Judges. Uh, verse 1. Now then the men of Israel had sworn in Mizpah, saying, there shall not any of us give his daughter unto Benjamin to wife. Verse 7. How shall we do for wives for them that remain, seeing we have sworn by the Lord that we will not give them of our daughters to wives? And verse 14 says, and Benjamin came again at that time, and they gave them wives which they had saved alive of the women of Jabesh Gilead, and yet so they sufficed them not. And verse 18 says, howbeit we may not give them wives of our own daughters, but for the children of Israel have sworn, saying, cursed be he that giveth a wife to Benjamin. And verse 22, and it shall be when their fathers or their brethren come unto us to complain, that we will say unto them, be favorable unto them for our sakes, because we reserved not to each man his wife in the war. For ye did not give unto them at this time, that ye should be guilty. Let me read to you the introduction. Both Deuteronomy 7 and the 7th book Judges 21 have a contrasting link of giving daughters to marriage. This is the first time in Israel's biblical history that the rest of the tribes refused to give their daughters to Benjamin, a tribe because of their aggression towards women. Now the men of Israel had sworn in Mitzpah, saying, there should not any of us give his daughter unto Benjamin to wife. I'm pretty much rereading these, except verse 21. Let me skip to verse 21 because I read you the rest before. Verse 21, and see and behold, if the daughters of Shiloh come out to dance in dances, then come ye out of the vineyards, and catch you every man his wife of the daughters of Shiloh, and go to the land of Benjamin. And Shiloh was where the Ark of the Covenant was, where the tabernacle was, where the high priest Phinehas was, the son of Eleazar, and that's where the daughters of Shiloh were. So at first, I'm not sure if I could say at first or secondly, because Jabesh Gilead was another place where they took daughters. And that's it for the book of Judges. Thank you for listening. There are other studies comparing Deuteronomy 7 to the other books, to the inner wheels. I did compare Deuteronomy 7 to the book of Joel, which is the 29th book of the Old Testament, or the 7th book of the second cycle of the Biblewheel. But I did start a video on the study of the inner wheels of the other books, looking at the chapter 7s, 29s, 51s, and 73s, and so on. If you consider Psalms, I believe I did, but I haven't done the video. I haven't done the rest of the video, I should say, because in my drive, I saved them alphabetically, and Judges falls before Leviticus, as you notice. And in my next study, I will look into these things from Leviticus to Psalms, Proverbs, and so on. Thank you for listening. Share with your friends. If you find this inspiring, share with your friends. I'm going to go more into details, God willing, why these patterns are so, why these patterns are mentioned, and so on, as God will lead me. So have a nice day. Bye bye.